everybody, I'm Mary Angela Saavedra. I'm the director of the Center on the Hill, and it is time for another episode of Tell Me Something Good, now with special guests. I'm joined today by my brother, Lawton Kleitz. Hi, Lawton.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Thanks for being here. Tell us where you're joining us from.
I'm joining you from Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Awesome. What's the weather like in Fredericksburg?
It is warm, but not terrible. It was really nice this morning, but it looks like there's some clouds coming in, so we may be getting some thunderstorms, but that's what summer is in Virginia.
Sure. Sounds pretty good. We're kind of in the same boat. I think thunderstorms are getting ready to come. It's getting a little gray out there. We'll see. Well, for those of you just joining us, I'm going to use a game called Storywise. It's 144 Thoughtful Ways to Bond with a Fellow Human. Atria Senior Living gave this to me last summer. It's some really great questions. I'm going to ask 3 of them. We'll answer them, and then we'll ask you to join the conversation at the end. So without further ado, sorry, let me use in my little mixed up order here. Let's start. Here is the picture. Can you see the people? They're it's like a grandma and a granddaughter drinking.
Yeah, it looks like they're having a milkshake or something.
Milkshakes, yeah, something like that. And this question says, whether you think people are born with a unique personality or is it shaped by circumstance? So this is a great question because I kind of believe both things are true. And I have examples for both of them. So I just spent a week with my friend Heather and her son Simon, who was born a little old man. And he just is. That's his personality. He's got this personality of this little old man. And she's like, I don't know where he gets this from. And I'm like, I don't think he gets it from anywhere. I think this is just who he is. This is how he was born. He was just born this little old man. Like the old man from Up, the Pixar movie Up. He's kind of like that. He's, he's got a really funny little sense of humor and some things he doesn't like. And, he's real fixed in what he likes and what he doesn't like. That's really neat. But then there are other situations where I've known kids whose parents are like musicians, and so they're very into the arts. And so then that child's personality tends to be, very much that kind of personality where I can see it. I can be like, oh yeah, you get that from your dad, you get that from your mom. So I kind of believe it's a little bit of both. I think you are born with a unique personality, and then it's shaped somewhat by circumstances. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I mostly agree. I would say, I think there's sort of there's lots of parts of a personality, and I think some of them are more inborn and some of them are more developed. There's sort of like the idea of your temperaments and how you respond to certain things. I think some of that is inborn, but I think a lot of sort of the window dressing you kind of get as you grow up. Like for me, growing up, I lived with my dad when I was little, and then, he's still in my life, but I spent a lot of time with my stepdad for a few years there. And so, I think a lot of things like my sense of humor and some of those things I get kind of more inherited, maybe was born with. But then other things like some of my interests, like doing ceramics, sometimes I sort of was inspired by from my stepdad, or certain parts of my speech, little bits of North Carolina I picked up from him and that kind of thing are kind of added later. So yeah, I think it's a mix of both. It's almost like the framework is what you're born with. And then kind of, you're born with kind of the size and shape of your Christmas tree. And then through your life, you figure out what ornaments you're going to put on it. So
I love it. That's a great answer. I love it. All right, let's see what our second question is. This is our card. And you see it's the guy, it looks like he's talking to his dog or trying to groom in his dog, something with his dog.
That's what I do most days. Sure.
Well, this question, and you start first, says, how much you think pets really understand?
Ooh, probably not as much as I like to pretend that they do. I've been known to have conversations with the dogs, and I'll do both parts. But I know that they don't really understand. I do think that they're very empathetic. I think they can sense sort of distress and sorrow and anxiety and those kinds of things in some ways better than people can. And when we know that they can smell seizures, right? So they can probably, have some sort of way of telling if we're sad or if we're lonely or worried or happy or all those things. So I think in that sense, they maybe understand more than we think. But yeah, in terms of the actual words that we're using, I don't know. I think they've worked out I think like a golden retriever has a vocabulary of about 200 words that they understand, which puts them, I think, at about like a 3-year-old or something. But yeah, I don't think they understand necessarily the complexities of some of the things that we like to pretend that they do.
So we shouldn't try to rationalize with pets. We should just be like, do this. Like,
Yeah, if you like sit them down and try to explain why throwing up on the carpet was a bad thing, they're probably not going to get it.
like, I don't know the words you're saying right now. I think I agree as well. I've definitely seen pets be emotionally empathetic, like, and I've only had a couple pets in my life that I've like, spent a lot of time with. And one of them was blind. When I was growing up and I lived with my dad and my stepmother, we had a standard poodle, and his name was Hershey, and he was blind, completely blind, couldn't see a thing. But yet somehow always kind of knew if like it was time to sort of come up and snuggle. Like he could really sense that, and it was real easy for him. Of course he would try. We'd always be like, hey, pet me, and he'd be like, no. But it was real easy for him to sense, okay, now is not. Now's not a good time, or like, oh no, you might need me right now, let me help. He also had really keen other senses that he had developed because he couldn't see, and we had a house full of stairs, and we also unfortunately like to rearrange a lot, which is really cruel to a blind dog, but it only took him like a minute to like figure out, okay, new lay of the land. Somebody has rearranged, and okay, there we are. So, I mean, I do think I like the 3-year-old analogy, because I'm like, that seems about right. Like, like don't rationalize with them. They understand simple commands. You can teach them some tricks. That's really great. Although I have to say, and this isn't a pet, but this is a situation with a squirrel I recently witnessed. We had squirrels living in our roof, in between the crawl space above our kitchen. We could hear them scampering around up there. So Eric found where they were going in and out, and he decided to close it off. And we were sitting outside sort of after that project had happened, like that night. And we're sitting out in the backyard, and I see this squirrel coming along the fence, and he goes up to that corner where he would have been able to get in. Obviously, he can't get in. So now he climbs over the roof, comes down the other side of our fence, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, oh, that squirrel, he tried to get in. Now he's one of the guys, and now his home is locked up. And it's like the squirrel heard me talking about him, because the squirrel stopped and like turned to us and just stared like, you guys closed the hotel. Like, what is the matter with you? I mean, and he was like so still and just so like, I mean, it was an angry face on a squirrel. I was like, I'm looking at Eric and I'm like, is that squirrel like staring us down? He's like, and then he just like scampered away, and I was like, okay. But it was weird that he stopped like right when I was talking about him, or I was like, oh, that squirrel, he was like, and the squirrel's like, it was you. Yeah, you did it. And I was like, sorry, squirrel. We love you, but just not in our roof. Sorry about that. That was great. Okay, so then our last question. This is a picture, a baseball player, and it says, your dream career. And I mean, I've had so many ideas of what I wanted my dream career to be for so long, and I've done so many different things now that I'm like, yeah, I don't really know if I have a true dream career anymore, because I kind of feel like I've fallen into it. Like the career I have right now, the path that I'm on, it combines a lot of my skills, my sort of event planning, my entertainment skills, my background in, the arts and ticketing, and it combines it all together, because I am activity and event planning for, an entire center of people who, come for various things. And it's not just the arts. I get to, have workshops and classes for health and fitness. And sometimes it's lectures, and sometimes it's, fitness things. And it's kind of all over the place. And I really love it. When I read the job description over a year ago, when I was first applying for the job, like it really spoke to me, and I thought I'd be really good at this. This would be really great if I could get this job. And then I got the job, and I was like, yeah, this is the best job I've ever had. Like, I love everything about this, and I could truly see myself doing this until I retire. So I think that sort of became my dream career without me expecting it to. Prior to that, I probably would have told you I wanted to like run my own theater and like, have sort of complete control around that. And I'm like, I still get to do theater and stuff. So I'm still working in that realm too. But I think, the job I have right now as the director of the Center on the Hill is truly a dream career, and I really, really enjoy it, and I hope to be doing it as long as I can.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I think definitely seeing you do this job, you can, sometimes you see somebody in a position and you just kind of know like this is what's meant to be, and you just sort of see you're like that's a perfect fit. So yeah, I think all of us who know you kind of see that with you in this position. So it's good to see. It's a good thing. Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I had lots of different dream careers growing up. I think we all do, silly things. You want to be, I mean, not silly. Some people do these things, right? But like we all want to be fighter pilots or, I don't know. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. I think every kid nowadays goes through a marine biologist phase. And I think some of them sort of are dreams when you don't know any better. Not that they're bad, but you just don't know sort of what it entails. And then as you kind of learn more about it, you're like, you know what, I probably wouldn't really like doing that. Like, I think I'd wanted to, for a long time, I wanted to be a park ranger, which could be a great job. And I think maybe I'd like to be a forest ranger, because I sort of learn more about the Park Service. I was like, oh, that's not necessarily what I thought it would be. It's a great thing, but not necessarily what I thought. But maybe the Forest Service would be better. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out what my dream career would be. I mean, I do have my own pottery studio right now, which is a pretty great thing. That was a dream. I think also a lot of us have sort of multiple dreams. I kind of thought, oh, I'd like to be a school teacher for a couple of years. And I did that for a few years. And that was pretty cool. It wasn't like my sort of like end all dream. It was kind of an along the way dream. So that was cool. Like I said, the sort of having my own pottery studio was definitely kind of seemed like a pie in the sky dream at the time, but now it's something I'm living, and it's good. But then it's, you get into it and you're like, oh, this is good, but maybe this is a good place to be. Maybe it's not a good place to stay. You kind of figure it out. You sort of see challenges and benefits. So yeah, I guess I'm still sort of figuring out what my dream is while living them. So that's not a bad way to be. So can't complain about that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. And as I learned, thanks to this month's speaker at the speaker series on the Hill, like there's such a thing as an encore career. So when this career is over for me, if I want to transition into a whole separate new career, I can, because people do that. So I was like, oh, that's very nice. I like having options. It's pretty great. Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, just to recap for everybody, our questions today were whether people are born with a unique personality or is it shaped by circumstance? How much do you think pets really understand? And your dream career? Join the conversation. Email your thoughts on these topics to me at msaavedra@chestnuthillpres.org. That's MSAAVEDRA @chestnuthillpres.org. And thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Lawton, for being here. It was really great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this was fun.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.